Now we're going to move to the section that everybody's here for. So this is a visitor statement. The Board of Education welcomes and encourages the participation of its citizens in the business of the school district. Thank you for your attendance. There are 2 points in the meeting where visitor statements are scheduled. Citizens are welcome to ask questions or make comments at either one. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If a person would like additional time to address the board, such requests should be submitted in writing 48 hours before the meeting to the superintendent. For more details, please refer to Board Policy 2:230, Public Participation at a Board of Education meeting and petitions to the board. And I know we received one today. So is Mrs. Dunn here? You can speak after everybody. We'll bring you up first. Come on up.
I'm going to speak instead of Mrs. Dunn. It was just she made the appointment. It's
fine.
Okay. Just do me a favor. When you come up and speak, please state your name and where you live so that we can keep that for our record center. All right? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sheila Daly. I live in Riverside. And thanks to Ellen for making this appointment, but we'd put together all of our thoughts and planned for me to read them here. So I'm here on behalf of the many students, educators, and community members who want to bring back RB Theater. And I think you see a lot of them in the audience today, and they were wearing t-shirts, and they wore t-shirts, and they had signs, and they marched in the 4th of July parade. When they did, the community was cheering them on and giving thumbs up. You know, it was really neat to see the passion that our community has for theater. We share that passion, and we're here today to express why a strong theater arts program belongs at RB. While other programs such as athletics are retained at RB, the quality and quantity of theater arts programming has diminished. Fortunately, musical productions have been reinstated, and for that we are very thankful and we thank the board, truly. However, we still have no fall play. To provide students with a well-rounded education and the co-curricular opportunities they deserve, RB should, at the minimum, produce published plays and full-fledged Broadway musicals every year, led by educators with theater training. We'd like to see our curricular program built up with coursework in theater education leadership as well. When comparing our theater performance program with that of other high schools in the area, we found that RB falls at the very bottom of the heap. Meanwhile, we have a lot of evidence showing how high school theater leads to academic achievement, student engagement, and a diverse range of careers. RB had a rich theater history before the cuts of 2011, with productions we were really proud of. Let's get it back. We'd like our shows to have larger budgets, experienced directors, and the addition of a technical director, and we ask that you bring back drama. Otherwise, this year's class of 2015 will be the first to graduate without ever having experienced one single solitary high school play. In 1976, RB and Niles East High School initiated the Illinois High School Theater Festival, which has become the oldest and largest non-competitive high school theater festival in the world. It includes professional development and clinics for students and teachers, and seniors get the chance to audition or present their technical portfolios for scholarships. Over 40 colleges are represented, and last year, 171 Illinois high schools sent over 4,000 students and sponsors, but not RB. This is a missed opportunity for our kids. In 2008 and 2009, RB hosted a college fair called Passion for the Arts. We had sessions on theater, theater tech, music, and more. Our kids need opportunities like this again. In recent history, RB had over 150 kids involved in theater, including performances, tech crew, and orchestra. They rehearsed and prepared for the musicals for 3 months and performed to capacity audiences, including the middle schools. During the fall play, students learned stage direction and stagecraft along with literary themes. Students want this back again, and we don't blame them. Our neighboring schools offer multiple productions every year. I have a list, and I'll be sending you all an email. Sorry, I don't have the hard copies here today, showing a chart of the different schools and what they all offer compared with us. So if you don't mind, I'll just list them. In alphabetical order, Carl Sandburg has 4 or more, Downers Grove North 4, Fenton and Bensonville has 2. Glenbard South has 4. Hinsdale Central 5. Morton West 2. LT has 9 or more. OPRF has 12 or more full productions per year. Revis in Burbank has 5. Victor Andrew over 3. And Fremd in Palatine 4. We have 1. And then, in the past few years, we've had 0 also. 0 for the whole year. In addition, LT has a playwriting course in the English department where teens produce an evening of student-written, directed, and acted short plays. Several schools do 1-act plays in addition to traditional 3-act plays. Stevenson dedicates 2 entire days to shutting down all classes for a fine arts event called Odyssey. They do that every other year. These are just a few of the many theater activities other schools offer. And even after equalizing the data based on school sizes, there is an enormous disparity here. Considering our stature as a high-performing school, it's shocking to see all our neighboring schools offering more full productions each year and with enriching corresponding curriculum. RB built a strong theater culture, but lately that program, its budget, and its quality has decreased, and we are concerned about the adverse effects on our students. We believe that out of all areas of study, theater arts offers some of the most valuable lessons a person can learn about life, about culture, about being human. It's interdisciplinary, offers a tremendous range of learning opportunities, and has been proven to increase student test scores significantly. High school theater education is important because it leads to academic achievement, student engagement, and careers and jobs. Evidence shows that high school theater education improves test scores, reading comprehension, language skills, problem solving, decision making, social skills, collaboration, and more. I have all the footnotes here to show you what all those studies say. Theater studies are beneficial for students because they naturally integrate the language arts, math and science, physical education, social sciences, history, dance, music, and the visual arts. What other area of study covers all these bases? In addition, theater education leads to significantly higher SAT scores. So the College Board reports that consistently from 2001 to 2005, students with experience in acting and play production scored 65 points higher on the verbal portion of the test and 34 points higher on the math. That's every year from 2001 to 2005. We didn't look far before also learning that low-income kids do better in school and in life when they have an arts education that includes theater. A 2008 study found they are 4 times more likely to have high academic achievement and 3 times more likely to have high attendance. They are also more likely to be a class officer and participate in a math or science fair. Research from 4 longitudinal studies in 2012 concluded that at-risk teenagers with arts education, including theater, earned better grades, had higher rates of college enrollment, and greater career aspirations. In adulthood, they also have higher rates of volunteering and are more likely to vote. Participating in theater arts activities gets students of all income levels engaged in school. It increases student attendance, fosters a strong school identity, and connects the kids with their community. Here are kids with a very diverse range of interests and abilities, all benefiting from this valuable co-curricular activity, this non-athletic outlet that engages students with their school. How can RB not offer them a full program of this? Involvement in sports can help students develop leadership skills, but so do theater arts. There are countless leadership roles listed in every show's playbill, if you look. In addition, theater students learn to value and show respect for the opinions and ideas of others, work cooperatively and collaboratively, and express themselves with strong public speaking skills. Theater students work as a team, similar to a sports team, working together towards a common goal. Their goals include communication, connection, and entertainment. And with theater, everyone wins. Theater arts training provides vital career skills as well. Dynamic presentation abilities are useful in job interviews and business presentations, and strong people skills are essential in any employment setting. If students do aspire to careers in the performing arts industry, have no fear, there actually are jobs. The 2013 National Arts Index reports that as of January of this year, there are 750,500 businesses involved in the arts, employing 3.1 million people. In 2011, there were 2.15 million working artists, and their earnings have kept up with inflation. On the home front, RB has alumni who are working actors and technical theater professionals who are passionate about their craft. They had a comprehensive program here to start them on their path, though. Today's students don't. How can RB students gain acceptance to college theater programs and be awarded scholarships? To be competitive, they need to have a strong high school theater resume and portfolio. At RB, they now have very little to show for their 4 years. Our students also need to audition at schools as large as U of I and as small as North Central. Are we adequately preparing them for this? I am afraid not. RB students are being underserved when it comes to the theater arts. We have retained all 26 of our sports options, yet when else will our kids have a chance to do classics like Our Town, or a work by Eugene O'Neill, Samuel Beckett, or Shakespeare? Morton does musicals like Evita and Cabaret. Last year at RB, 2 teachers wrote an original musical called Northside Gal with a low budget. And although it did give kids a chance to be on stage, it was limited in scope, both as a production and as a learning experience. Our children grew up going to RB shows like Beauty and the Beast and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. They looked forward to doing more in high school than they did in middle school, not less. They need opportunities every year so that they can move up from ensemble parts to featured roles as they gain experience, just like a ball player starts off in JV and develops into a varsity starter by senior year. We know there are budgetary and staffing challenges, but we believe if our supportive administrators make this a goal, it can become a reality. Finding the talent to lead the school's theater education should be a priority at RB. To put on proper musicals and plays, maybe we can get an RBEF grant to offset costs, look into Illinois Arts Council grants and artist in residency programs, or we could tap our area universities for graduate students with theater education degrees. And now that our new teacher's contract allows unlimited volunteers, perhaps we can utilize qualified members of the community. And I don't volunteer for that, by the way. Students will pay to participate, as well as raise funds, charge admission to the shows, and sell concessions. With the right leadership, we can be creative and resourceful. Our school deserves a theater arts program that matches RB's standards of excellence. Theater is an intellectual pursuit, and RB is a school. We need knowledgeable instruction from professionals who know how to prioritize a theater budget and offer, at the least, a published play annually, a full-scale Broadway musical annually, improvisation performances, experienced directors, and a rich curriculum by educators with theater education. The community can look forward to RB's outstanding productions. Children can become familiar with their future high school. Senior citizens can see teenagers involved in productive pursuits, and everyone is entertained. A 2005 Harris poll revealed that 93% of the public believes that the arts, including theater, are vital to a well-rounded education. The President's Committee on Arts and Humanities said this about theater arts in high school, and I quote, "The statistics on its efficacy in raising test scores, the morale of students and teachers, and the increases in attendance are persuasive. Observing arts integration in action is even more compelling. There's a pride and a collegiality in an arts-integrated school. Learning seems more fun, students and teachers are more engaged, and the whole school seems like a more creative place." Theater arts helps all kinds of students achieve success in school, work, and life. Please, let's bring it all the way back. Thank you very much.
As I was stating to Mr. Cindy, we normally do not reply to the 3-minute citizen comments, but with the petition to the board, there is a brief opportunity to update the board on the discussion with the theater program. So I met with Ms. Daly and Ms. Dunn yesterday, as I stated earlier, with Ms. Smetana for, I would say, close to an hour and a half. There were some facts that they were reporting on that when we sat down and went through the contract and went through some things, they realized that it's not the Board of Education's intent, nor is it the administration's intent to cut the theater program or to recommend additional cuts to the theater program. We look back at the history a little bit, and we recognize that the board has funded 3 stipends for a musical the last 2 school years, and that it is funded in the contract for the next this year and the next 2 years going forward. We also discussed the whole shenanigans thing that was recently in the suburban life and gained some legs in the media, and we talked about some of the inaccuracies surrounding that, and that the board has provided me the flexibility to meet with the teachers union to see if there's a way that we can include a second performance in the shenanigans improv group. But we talked about some of the lack of information or clear understanding of information that's out there in the community, that people aren't necessarily up to speed. The one true thing that is lacking from our theater program is that we do not have a fall play. There was a director stipend and an assistant director stipend that was cut back in 2010 or 2011 when the referendum failed. So I had initiated some conversation with Ms. Smetana and the representatives from the theater program about putting together a proposal to bring back to the board at a future meeting to try to reinstate a fall play. You know, historically, in regards to the musicals, when they were going through the cuts, the board was not opposed to necessarily the stipends in producing a musical. And as I stated to the parents, the board does not get involved in the decision on whether it's a Broadway musical or whether it's a self-directed musical or written musical from teachers. Or, you know, it's what they can afford and somewhat equal funding of what they're trying to afford to the other extracurriculars. So I explained to the parents that, you know, the ability to provide a $25,000 or $30,000 supply budget or some of the additional stipends that we had over 3 to accommodate the musical, some of that might not be realistic at this point, but we have set up some ways that as we continue to grow and revitalize the theater program, there is abilities to produce Broadway musicals and Broadway productions. The way we have it set up currently is that the musicals get to keep all their gate receipts, fundraising receipts, concession receipts, so that they can use it as a revolving fund to help support costumes or different sets. We have talked about if there's a gap in funds in regards to buying a specific rights to a play or something of that nature, that the superintendent does have an activity account that he can provide some additional funds for groups, and there's also extracurricular account that the assistant principal oversees to help close some of those gaps. There also is the RBEF. I think that's a great example. I think what the board's seeing tonight is that the community is coming together and they realize that we have somewhat addressed our financial future for the time being, and there are some things that we need to consider bringing back. I don't know if we'll ever be able to bring it back at the level where the funding was at, because I don't know if I can fully say we can sustain that funding, but the ability to bring back a fall play and provide a director stipend and an assistant director stipend and some small funds to help get that reinstated and kicked off so that it could become a tradition like it was in the past. I think my staff and I can sit down and work with the current budget to provide a strong proposal to the board to consider that. Some of the other things that we are, so currently in our theater program, we still do provide classes during the curricular day. It's just a matter of, and we talked about this with the parents, is that some of the students are conflicted because of some of the graduation requirements. They're also maybe in band or orchestra, or they want to be four-year choral students, so that their ability to take electives just somewhat doesn't come to fruition because there's just not enough time in the day. We told them that we did not take any of the courses off the books, but we haven't received the amount of students to participate in those courses in order for them to run similar like we do with some of our other academic courses. We still offer a orchestras program, which provides dance opportunities for those students not involved in the dance team. We still have the improv club. We still have a musical. So the fall play, obviously we still have our band, our orchestra. I know the board committed to fronting the money for the band uniforms. So I think this board is committed to the fine arts and the theater program. But I think we really need to take a serious look at the possibility of a fall play.
Okay.
Can you just clarify one thing? Historically, we had a fall play and a spring musical and 2 shenanigans. Do we ever have more than that as far as performance that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. Obviously, we still have our madrigal concerts. We had some different other of our performing groups. We used to have 2 orchestra shows. Some of that. What happens with this and what becomes complicated, and I shared this with the parents a little bit, is some of this is tied to stipends and dollar amounts and things that we used to pay, and now we're willing to pay this in order to, and we've reached some agreements with the union. So in the past they might have been getting a larger stipend, but they did 3 shows. Well, now that stipend's not as large, so maybe they're only willing to do 1 or 2 shows. So that's where the students see it as like, hey, the board's cutting shows. It's not the board necessarily cutting shows. It's just that we're trying to manage our cost a little better.
And the classes, as you said, we've never cut a
We have not cut
performance
any
class,
performing arts
just whether
classes.
enough kids sign up for them.
Correct. The interest level has not been enough to where they run. But most, I should say, it is very traditional that you would have a fall play, which is a non-musical performance for the students that are more into acting, directing, and drama, and then you would have a spring musical. And I believe in 2010 or 2011, we did not run any theater production. Then in the 12-13 year and the 13-14 year, we have brought back the musical, but we have not brought back the fall play as of this time.
Okay. All right, for visitors' comments, we're going to start over here. Anybody want to speak, please raise your hand. Please step up. We won't bite. Please state your name and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Annabelle Daly. I'm from Riverside. I'm going to be a senior next year at Riverside Brookfield, and I wanted to talk a bit about my perspective on the issues surrounding theater at RB. I've been performing in musicals since 3rd grade. It's kind of something I grew up with, and from a young age I saw the productions RB put on, and seeing the shows at RB is what really got me excited for high school, because as a kid you see these and to me, as like a 5th grader, RB productions are like a Broadway show, and it's like Sutton Foster's up there, except it's like Andy Krug. So when I found out about the cuts being made to the theater department, I was really scared and upset. And the reason that high schools have plays and musicals is pretty simple. Everyone deserves to have the same opportunity to participate in the theater arts, even if you can't participate in shows with outside theaters. Being in shows outside of school is extremely costly, and not everyone can afford that. A lot of them are like $300, $400, and then you add to that, a lot of them want you to pay for extra makeup and costumes and hair and shoes and whatnot. And also a lot of students don't have parents that can drive them to these rehearsals every night and pick them up after. It does get pretty ridiculous, the amount of commitment it takes to do shows at outside theaters. Another beauty of having shows inside the school is that a lot of kids who might otherwise never want to audition for a musical or play just might. Lots of students discover a love for the stage when encouraged to join a school production with their peers. And everyone should have the chance to participate in plays and musical in high school, not just the people that have the ability and income necessary to do shows outside of school. I'm happy to say that we will be doing musicals at RB every year, but there are still a lot of pieces we are missing. The first is a theater department. We are really lacking leadership and experienced faculty when it comes to drama. When we're looking for directors for our shows, I know that we need to hire faculty inside RB before we hire someone from outside the school. If we can begin to build a theater department, we can have teachers right here that are experienced in theater and can direct our plays and musicals. Speaking of plays, we need them. One musical is definitely not enough. Students interested in going into theater in college need a larger resume of experience from their school. Students who aren't interested in the musical aspects of theater also deserve to have drama experience with published plays every year. It's important. The majority of community theaters don't even put on plays that we could participate in. We need them here. Another thing we need is a group of inspired, passionate adults that can put on our shows. Just a director isn't enough. We need an experienced musical director and technical director to really put our shows on the level they used to be. Our theater department needs to be brought back and built up. It's what the kids want, it's what the parents want, it's what the community wants. We need drama at RB just as much as we need sports, clubs, and other extracurriculars. And I know that a lot of you guys have been here for a couple of years, and you'll probably be here for many years more, and the thing is, I get 4 years, and we all get 4 years, and maybe 5 if we're unlucky. But, you know, we only get a couple of chances to perform, and we want to perform as much as we can because this is what we're so passionate about, and this is absolutely what we live for.
Ms. Taylor, your time's expired.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else on this side? Please step up. Hi, please state your name.
Paola Lehman, and I live in Brookfield.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Paola Lehman, and I'll be an incoming senior here at RB. And also, I would like to state that I'm also a fellow athlete here at RB. Before at RB, I did a lot of theater outside in Chicago and in Oak Park called at Bravo. I got to know a lot of talented students there and who go to OPRF and who have an incredible theater department compared to ours. When I performed in Greece at Music Makers in Western Springs my junior year, I got to know a lot of talented kids that go to LT and Hinsdale, and I couldn't believe how amazing their drama department was and how minimal our drama department is. Freshman year, I got to be pulled up for the volleyball team, and I was talking to some of the sophomores of my teammates, and they were telling me how there wasn't going to be a musical, and I was so heartbroken. And so I talked to a lot of the students in multiple high schools in the area, and they were telling me how they had published plays written by students and directed by students, and how they had a published musical. Oh, and then my sophomore year when we had Susical, I was so happy. But as the years gone by and maturing into the young woman I am today, I actually decided to make musical theater my major in college. And auditioning is the greatest factor when getting into college. And many of my fellow peers that are also auditioning have come from spectacular theater programs from their high school. I cannot compare to these kids with the experience that they have. But I'm positive if RB puts in the effort to bring back our theater department, we can make RB as great as some of these schools. And thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side of the room? Please step up. Please state your name, where you're from.
My name is Kristen Tomczak, and I live in Riverside. I'm also a recent graduate of RB. As a lifelong Riverside resident and the youngest of 3 children who all went to RB, I grew up watching the theatrical productions here at Riverside Brookfield, such as The Secret Garden, Metamorphosis, there's like a pool on the stage, Once Upon a Mattress, and Beauty and the Beast. I've always had a bit of flair for the dramatic, and it was in theater that I finally found this self-expression as all of those, struggling middle school, growing girls. I was bit by the theater bug, and I jumped at the opportunity to be part of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat when I was in 5th grade, and I'll never forget it. Live in living color, RB Productions were larger than life. I was actively involved in all of the epic productions put on by Mr. Mason at Hauser, and I remember thinking, this is just junior high, and we're doing Peter Pan and like Music Man and Shakespeare, and in junior high, I just can't wait until high school. My freshman year, excitement and hopes were very high for RB Theater. A conflict prevented me from trying out for the drama my first year, and I thought, I could always just audition next year. But there was no next year. And there was no next year after that, or next year after that. Fortunately, there were at least 2 Broadway musicals, The Wiz and Seussical, and I thoroughly enjoyed those, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do those. Even though I've graduated, I want current and future students to have the opportunities that I didn't get to have. I successfully interviewed for countless colleges and scholarships using these skills that I learned by being part of theater, and I can tell you, all the world's the stage, and all the men and women merely players. I implore you, save RB Theater. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? Is there anybody else on this side? Please step up.
Hello, my name is Joe Rogers, and I'm a resident of Riverside. I'm also a recent graduate of RBHS High School, class of 2014. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. I just wanted to say what the RB Theater Department has meant to me as a student. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in the RB Theater Department since the 5th grade when I was involved in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And that was a point where RB actually had a very large community outreach with the theater department. We were able to bring in elementary school students to participate in the play. I was actually one of the blue shirts with Maura Dunn, who's in the audience right now, and still remember it. And it was a really great program. I remember being excited for it. It led me to be involved in theater at Hauser and in the productions at RB High School. I was fortunate enough to be in 3 of the musicals that were offered at RB, including the role of the Cat in the Hat in Seussical the Musical. And it's really provided a very positive experience for me at RB. I was able to make a lot more friends than I think I would have been able to if I hadn't been involved in the theater program. It really helped my voice for the choir program that I was involved in here at RB, and it helped me realize that I'd like to be involved in musical theater in college. Although it will not be my major, I'll be involved on an extracurricular basis. I know that it has also helped recent RB graduates. 2 of them are here. Rachel Bennett and Kristen Tomaszek will both be continuing on with it next year and have found their passion through the RB Theater Department. However, I do feel as if we could get so much more out of our theater department if we were to expand it to the level that it once was at. I recently was able to see my friend Maddie at Downers Grove North High School put on a showcase of a screenplay that she wrote herself and have actors act out her screenplay in front of all of her friends. And that was a very enlightening thing to see, that theater department at her school supported her so graciously and provided an outlet for her talent that she is now able to use as she studies journalism at the University of Missouri and writes more and more screenplays for her future career. And just looking at their program and seeing that there were 4 more shows that they had left to go that year and much more opportunities for the theater department, I think is an example for RB that we would be able to implicate in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side? Please step up. Please state your name, where you're from.
Hi, I'm Abby Schwartz, and I'm from Riverside.
Go ahead, Amy.
All right.
We don't bite, so.
Sounds good. Well, theater has always been a very strong passion for me. I've actually looked into other schools with stronger theater departments because I wasn't given the level of theater program I wanted here at this school. I looked into Chicago Academy for the Arts, which is an arts-based school, and they have an amazing musical theater program there. I was able to get in, and I received scholarships, both talent and academically based, but sadly the cost was too high for me to go there. I do love RB. I love the people here. I love the atmosphere. I love the education. I love the teachers, but the theater program needs work. I was involved with Seussical and with Northside Gal. And in middle school, I'm going to say what all the other people have said, that I saw the RB productions and was like, wow, this is what I get to do in high school. And then I learned in 8th grade that the referendum didn't pass. And then I remember hearing that the theater program wasn't going to live up to the expectations I had hoped it would. And going to Hauser, where the theater program there was amazing, it really broke my heart. Theater at middle school was a sanctuary for me. It gave me a place to be myself. And learning that we would only have one show a year at my high school really made me upset. I'm also an athlete, and I can say from experience, I do love my sports, but the rush that I get from winning a swim meet or a water polo game it doesn't even compare to the rush I get on stage, where just everyone's applauding and it's the final number, and it is, I can't explain it. If you don't feel it yourself, if you haven't done it, it is a passion, and everyone here shares that passion with me of how important and how magical a theater program is. And my sister is involved with theater, and I want to see her have an amazing theater experience here when she goes. And that is what I wish to see from RB in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side?
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Bennett. I live in Riverside, Illinois, and as a parent and past student, our daughter graduated this past May. She was part of the theater program here. What I saw as a parent and observing that was she developed goal-oriented team efforts working on the productions that she did work on. She also needed to go outside the school system to improve her resume as she applied to colleges. She developed and practiced skill sets that were transferable post her high school into college and hopefully into the work area. Personally, and she was more productive in managing her time, and her grades were always better when she was involved in productions. And it also kept her engaged in school activities. The other thing that we found is when she was auditioning into schools of music at University of Illinois, at Illinois State, and at University of Iowa, and they take a very select number of students, 100 at University of Illinois, and that's across all of the music programs, whether it's the orchestra, band, voice, and piano students. So the questions that were continually asked in the interview process, you are not only tested, you have to perform, and then you're interviewed into all of these programs, is what type of program do you have at your high school? And she had to work around that issue and say, well, there was a budget cut, and as a result of that cut, she did not have the drama portion that we've offered in the past. And so I think it would be just as an effort. I know each of you work very hard in the Board of Education as members of the board, and I appreciate your efforts and support to our communities. But as the budget is prepared, I encourage each of you as Board of Education members to allocate funds to increase those opportunities for our students, balancing both the educational and after-school needs consistently. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Anybody on this side want to speak? Please come on up.
Hi, my name is Kristen Cochran, and I live in LaGrange Park. When I learned about the sad state of RB's theater program, I felt sickened, not only for the current students, but selfishly for my children, now 1 and 5. Obviously, they are a long way from high school. Whether or not my kids decide to participate in theater on stage or behind the scenes, I do not want them at a school that doesn't support the arts fully. It is detrimental to not only individual students, but to the school culture as a whole. I am a mother, a future RB parent, a drama nerd, and an educator. I've taught English for 9 years at Andrew High School in Tinley Park and have the pleasure to direct in our theater program. My life has been enriched by this experience. When I try to gather the reasons why I passionately feel that RB must recommit to theater arts education, I'm overwhelmed. I think of kids experiencing success, failure, growth, pressure, a career path, passion and guidance from dedicated adults. I see kids learning. You cannot have quality learning without a quality program with consistent opportunity for challenge and growth. We must bring back the RB Theater program now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side want to speak? Please step up.
Sam Levin, and I'm from Hollywood. I don't know if the timing's right of what I have to say, but somewhat it was touched upon today in the meeting. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. When I heard the high school was entertaining the idea of tearing up green space and getting rid of tennis courts to put up a parking lot, I thought of the song Yellow Taxi by singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell. The song's message is strikingly on point. Every night I walk my dog Oliver past the green space and tennis courts the high school seeks to replace with an asphalt and concrete eyesore, a parking lot. Thousands of children spent their formative years of primary education captivated, comforted, inspired by the green space directly outside their classroom. Is it fair? Is it right? And is it appropriate to replace this little bit of paradise with a parking lot? I think not. Green space is a sanctuary that is being eliminated in record numbers. I call your attention to the mass destruction of trees that occurred the last time Paradise was paved to put up a parking lot. Over 20 trees were destroyed by the village of Brookfield to make room for the high school's previous parking expansion north of the football field. Our elected officials have shown contempt and disrespect towards not only the residents of Hollywood, but more importantly, towards the natural resources that we and all animal species depend on to survive. Trees, bushes, and other vegetation provide the oxygen we need, that we depend on. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They've paid paradise and put up a parking lot. Mr. Keene, what would you do if the village of Brookfield decided to pave over the Oak Savannah across from your house on Arden Avenue? Wouldn't you want your Hollywood friends to support your efforts to stop such a rape of our landscape? Of course you would. Why should you expect anything less from the Monreals, the Walners, and other Hollywood Avenue and Hollywood residents who are fighting to preserve their green space, their oxygen, their peace of mind, their paradise? As I said at the committee meeting on June 24th, why are you as school board members, administrators, encouraging students, parents, and others to drive? With gas prices over $4 per gallon, why not set a positive example in favor of conservation rather than consumption? Our high school district is not large. There are alternatives to driving. Is the parking lot really needed? How many days and nights will the parking lot sit?
3 minutes are up.
May I finish this paragraph?
No, your 3 minutes are up.
All right, well then, I've got some other, and I'll continue it next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on this side? Please step up.
John Kleppel, from Brookfield, specifically Hollywood. So if you thought every Hollywood resident was there last time, apparently not. I'd like to thank the residents who were there last week, or I guess it's last week, 2 weeks ago. I couldn't be there, and I appreciate them being there. I also appreciate, I don't remember which, I think it was you that put together the compilation of issues that people brought. Sorry, Kevin, Doctor. Thank you for putting that together as well. The one thing I didn't see on the list is probably the thing that I cared about more, and that's really the learning environment that it changes for Hollywood School. And I do know that Mr. Cerna did bring that up at the last meeting. And that's really my biggest concern. I was happy to see that it has been cut back to rather than right up against the school by the tennis courts, but I really think that's just less bad rather than good. You'd mentioned that there's 45 students on the waiting list. With a student population of 1,500, that's 3%. I don't think that's a major problem that we have that we're addressing here. At the end of the day, you guys have to make decisions. We don't know what the exact cost is of this, as much as people have asked, of what it will cost to put up the parking lot that is proposed. But there will be a cost. And I think at the end of the day, there's something wrong with our priorities when we have enough money for an additional parking lot that may or may not be needed, but we don't have enough money for a competitive theater program. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please state your name, where you're from.
Scott Schwartz from Riverside. I just want to pose a question that I look at the other programs out there that were not cut, and theater lost, I don't know, 60, 70% of its revenue. And how many of those programs could have survived without that kind of backlash? And you still have this many passionate people here wanting to push this forward. I want to hear that this is going to be reinstated fully. I know you gave it a good plus, but I'd like to hear it getting back to what it was, not to 80%, 75%.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, Tony Nye from Riverside. The theater, as well as any of the arts programs at any of the schools that my children have been to, have been incredibly important for their lives. And the example of my daughter comes to mind because she just had a series of interviews. She's only been out of school for 2 years, having a very good experience down at University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. But she's doing a summer internship, and one of the things that she had to reach as a hurdle was doing a series of interviews to get approved for it. One of the things she feels helped her get to that stage was both her theater and the arts experience here at Riverside Brookfield High School. So not having that available in the form that it was, even when she graduated 2 years ago, is sad. And I know you're doing everything you can, but I do feel it's incredibly important. I also feel that the feeder schools do a good job of giving you a product that is ready just to soar by the time they get there. I mean, Hauser, which I'm most familiar with, has a fabulous theater and arts program, and I don't feel we even in the past capitalized on that as much as we even could have. So I would like to see it not even just gotten back to where we were, but to perhaps work even smarter to use the talents that we were given. Not necessarily throwing huge amounts more money on it, but trying to really be creative about it and how we could perhaps engage the community more. I mean, you have to put a certain amount of money toward it, and that's critical, and that would be the part that you would play in, as well as any taxpayer. But also then you allow everyone who could participate volunteer, even in the whether it be in costuming, whether it be helping with set designs, whether it be adding extra ideas for dancing, being able to use some of the talents and being able to mesh that all together into an even more exciting program than we had before. Plus, if we're going to be spending the money on it, I would truly like it to be more of an all-community event, and that's partially publicity, where it almost ends up being a secret where a lot of people don't even know it existed. It's put on the website, but old people don't look at the website. It needs to be in media that invite people in and show, we've got something really cool. Come and see us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side? All right, seeing none, we're closing visitors' statements and moving on to additional discussion items for the meeting. Anybody want to add any items to be discussed at the meeting? Seeing none, let's move.
Wait. Is it for this meeting or future meetings?
Well, will the future meetings happen at this meeting?
This meeting.
This
At the
meeting.
end, we do future.
Oh, okay.